There, mic's on. Now we're live. We're going to get a lot of people tuning in to hear little Miss Ashley.
Hi.
Did you have to get up early for this?
Yeah, I did. I got up
Did
at
you?
like 7.
Yeah. Okay, hold on one second there, kid. I thought that my mic was ready to go, but it's not quite. It's giving me problems here. Look at that. We already got people popping on to see you guys, to see Miss Ashley. We got a lot to play, Miss Ashley. I think everybody's looking forward to hearing the story about you a little bit. You've been with me for a long time. If you guys haven't met Ashley Sage, she's the one that runs our little Dragons program here in Chatsworth and pretty much everything else because that's what she likes to do. Right? Am I wrong?
No.
No, right? She's
Control freak.
Right, that's correct. So tell everybody, Miss Ashley, how long you been with us? How long you been in my studio? When did you start?
I started at Chatsworth Karate probably back in 2007. Yeah, it's about 2007. So I've been here 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah, so man, that's been a long time, right? It's been a long time. Yeah, so I mean, you've been part of here for so long that it's just I don't remember the school without you here. That's how long it's been. You guys will remember things, but I think you've been here with us for so long that it's you're like part of the furniture at this point. So okay, so let's talk about Miss Ashley for a second. Ashley, why don't you tell everybody where you're talk about your family first? You've who's at home, your family that you're here, and then we'll get into a little bit more in-depth stuff about you.
Well, immediate family includes me and then my 2 sisters. Susanna, she's off at college right now in Waco. She's currently working on getting her bachelor's degree, I think, in psychology. And then Cassie's at home right now. She's my disabled sister, and she's with a family friend, so I could come and do the podcast this morning in peace.
That's correct. We have, as people know, we have John Vaverka's wife helping us out today, so that you can come and do this. Right,
Yes.
Gisela stepped in to help with Cassie a little bit. So let's start. First of all, let's start with your early stuff because I have some other stuff I want to talk to you about and that I think you can get to bring to the table. But in your little bio, it's funny. I always learn something about because I didn't know you did Taekwondo before you came to me. Let's talk about that.
I was at Master Ma's on Reseda Boulevard, and I started up at the YMCA, and his son was teaching there. And they had invited me to go and train at the main school. So I did that right before my mom forced us to move up north with my aunt for a little bit because she had to take a brief time away from the family. So.
Well, we can talk about that or not talk about that. That's up to you.
I don't care.
We because I think that's all part of who you are. And it's all part of who Mom was, okay?
Yes.
And what she, we'll spend a little bit of time with Mom because we get to reminisce about her because, we all love and miss her. But, so you were up north for a while. You came back. Is this when you came back to Chatsworth then? Did you come and live here in Chatsworth, right down the street from the school? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was living on Lurline before. Yeah, I was Lurline and then Germain Street. I was right over by Germain Street Elementary. That was where we were living before we moved. And then when we came back after, I don't know, maybe a year, we lived with my grandma, and then we moved down the street to the apartments. And my mom was like, well, the school's right there. You can walk. I don't have to take you. I don't have to take care of you. You could just go on your own. And I was like, okay. And it was close enough, and the locals were friendly enough that she didn't care.
Yeah, well, back then it was just a little bit different than it is today, right? We didn't have tents on the sidewalk when you had to walk to the studio, or guys wheeling knives across the street, and machetes. So that was a different time, and that was a very short time ago, isn't that? It's amazing, right?
Yes.
So, I want you guys. Let's talk about just kind of your past a little bit, and when you came into martial arts, well, you were young, so you were doing junior karate out of the gate, right? Did your
Yes.
sister start with you, or did you come by yourself first?
Here I started by myself, and at the other place she never joined me. But so I started here by myself, and Susanna probably joined me when she was 11,
Hmm.
and then she was with it until she was about 17.
So, also, people may not know that you have an older brother too, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Jake.
right, named Jake, and Jake's another one that likes martial arts. He does his mixed martial arts, correct?
Yeah,
And
we got our purple belts maybe a week away from each other, funny enough, and he trains out in Vegas at Syndicate.
hmm right. So it's a kind of a family thing that your family and brother's big. He's a big boy. He's fought a couple times, I believe, in MMA too. So it's kind of a fighting spirit's kind of what's inside your home anyway. Starting with your mom, but it was kind of rocky at first. So I want to talk about that so people can have an understanding of when people make a decision to change, right? Which your mom did. She changed her life, which in turn changed your life, and from your past, you on a different path altogether. So let's talk about mom's past when what had happened and where you had to live before you were able to come here to Chatsworth. Okay.
Okay. So let's see. I was in first grade, and we were living on Lurline, and my mom had told me at one point in time that she was going to have to go serve time in prison because she had essentially broken the law by smuggling drugs across the country unintentionally. She was on the run because at the time her and my father were in an abusive relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so she was running from that, and she left me, Susanna, and Cassie here in California with my dad, which he never touched us. He was always good to us for the most part. And my mom got arrested, and it was a federal case. So she ended up having to serve about 8 months in a federal prison up in Dublin, which my aunt was kind enough to take me and Susanna in, and then Cassie stayed down here with my grandma, and we were separated for that amount of time. And we went to go visit my mom maybe every other weekend, and visiting was hard, but it was always a nice experience that we got to see her. We didn't have to wait the whole time before we got to see her again.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we moved back down to Southern California with my grandma. We moved back into her house, and then we moved into the apartments across the street. And then we ended up where we are now. But my mom decided before she was going to serve time that she was going to be clean off everything forever, which she held to, which was really nice.
Right. So, well, yeah, that's like we talked about. I think probably I've talked when mom was with us. I talked to her a little bit about her story anyway, but she that was probably a turning point for her to make a change. And what was it? What was it like? So, I mean, what did you see drug abuse in your home, or was it sheltered from you?
I wouldn't say I ever witnessed my mom do drugs or sell drugs. I more interacted with other drug addicts and other people who were actively using at the time or selling or whatever, because she would also take me everywhere. I went everywhere with her. And so when she was a bail bondsman, she would bail people out of jail who were not the prettiest of characters. And so I would go with her just to make sure that she was okay. And then I got to kind of meet these people and interact with them. And I've seen how drugs can affect people firsthand, and I've seen how it affects families. And I'm very lucky that I didn't have to deal with that with my mom directly. But it was one of those things that very soft drug use. I mean, marijuana, people have their different opinions on it now, but back then it was my mom would not let me be around adults if they were using at the time. So her friends, if they came over and she felt like they were off, she's like, get out. And
Mm-mm.
it was okay. Yeah, see you later. Like, we were young enough that it was like, you're not allowed to be here. You have to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember and that's unique, right? That mom comes out and she becomes a bail bondsman, and so and I remember a couple times I'm like, man, I'd like to go bail bonds picking up people, you know what I mean? But you told me that there was times that you're even out going getting these guys, like Dog the Bounty Hunter,
Yes.
Miss Ashley, when you're what, 7?
Yeah, I was probably like 10. I had just gotten my black belt, so I was fine.
So I think that's funny. Your mom and I laughed about that quite often sometimes when we would get a chance to talk and stuff like that. So with that being said, though, your mom also was a big part of the recovery ministry at Rocky Peak, correct?
Yes, Celebrate Recovery over
Yeah.
at Rocky Peak. She definitely, obviously, she couldn't run all the groups, but she really enjoyed helping, and she made me and Susanna help, and we loved being a part of the kids ministry for that, because people with drug problems have kids, and they needed something to do with their kids while they were in service. So me and Susanna would usually go to the daycare, or we would just help run it.
Yeah, that's the that's the other side of being able to come out of something and then do nothing but enlighten other people's lives, and that's what your mom did. Because I remember turning people over to mom several times because that world is just out of my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? And so, but she had a super kind heart and a loving attitude, but with a tough, if you didn't do what she asked, I mean, you were out. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. You know what I mean? But it was common too to have people sleeping on your couch that she's trying to help out. Correct?
Yes, we usually always had a visitor that was staying with us until they could get back on their feet, or they lost their sobriety, and then my mom would kick them out and tell them to go get clean for X amount of time, and you can come back and we'll try again.
Right. Yeah. Mom was always awesome at those things. So let's fast forward to see what happened. I mean, that's the beauty of your mom at that time. So this is now mom. Let's talk about mom getting sick. Okay. And what that did to shape how you're at Chatsworth Karate now so much, because you made some, I'm not sure the students here really know your story of what you were going to do and how you put your life on hold for your sister. And before we go down the road, so Cassie, you have a disabled sister. So why don't you talk about what it is, how old she is, and is she's verbal, nonverbal, and what you take care of there on a daily.
Cassie is her original diagnosis, which I think has changed based on terminology and what people are okay with nowadays, has technically changed. But her original diagnosis was mental retardation and severe autism. In which case, mental retardation is not something that the medical field likes to continue to use. So they'd probably label her something differently. But mentally, she's probably about the equivalent of a 7-year-old. Now, she is 8 years older than me. She just turned 31 this year. Yeah, she turned 31 this year. And so she's 8 years older than me. And she just, every day is a different day with her. I will say that. She has a routine, and especially right now with COVID and everything, the routine has changed to something that she's kind of had to readjust to. And the first couple of months were for sure hard. But I mean, as far as verbal goes, she's able to communicate basic words and phrases like water or bathroom, or she wants to watch a TV show. She can write. It looks about as equivalent to maybe a doctor's writing. So it's like scribbles. Mm-hmm. And then she can read on her own. She has no reading comprehension necessarily. She can use the bathroom on her own. She needs help with everything inside the bathroom. She can't brush her teeth. I brush her hair. I give her a bath. Yeah. I want to say I think that's it for the most part.
So you're basically almost a full-time caretaker. And, of course, you have help when it comes to, there's other people that come and help with the with the taking care of her. And then, of course, when COVID came around, she was going to school for a while, you know, and then when that routine, and we know we work with a lot of kids with disabilities, and so you take out a routine and you completely take it away, it's a building process
Yes.
to do the next, right? And so when school comes back, if it comes back or
It's
whatever,
going to be a new
it's going to
process.
be a whole new process, right? So this is a daily routine, and I've told you this before. And when I talk about um, just how special you are, what you have to do on a daily basis is nothing like what I, I was a single dad, but my kids could take care of themselves ever since they were young, including doing their laundry and everything that came with that, right? You are having to take on a mother role and a sister role and a caretaker role all in one, and then you still come and train and you show up to teach and what it is. I mean, I know that you're in the middle of it, so you just don't think of it like we do, right? Because when I look at it, I'm like, could I do that? You know what I mean? I ask myself quite often when I think about you. I'm like, what does that life look like? Because um you took on this role because mom got sick, right? So let's talk about mom's diagnosis here real quick and so we can run that down.
It was May of my senior year in high school. I was actually at grad night at Disneyland, and I was with my friends, and I got a missed call from my mom. It was a very short voicemail. She's so to the point, doesn't want me to worry. She's like, "Hey, I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the emergency room. Don't worry, I'll see you tomorrow." I was like, "Okay." And so I called her. I'm like, I can get a ride home. What do you want me to do? She's like, you have to take Susanna to school in the morning and you have to make sure Cassie gets off on the bus. I am going to spend the night in the hospital. I was like, okay. I was like, are they running tests? What's the deal? And then that happened. And I think we went to go visit my mom that day. And then the next day, my aunt had flown down and she was there. And then me and Susanna were on our way back to all of you. And Susanna mentioned something on the way there. She's like, yeah, I can't believe it. It's stage 4. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, they didn't tell you? I'm like, no. And she was like, oh, well, they think mom has stage 4 colon cancer. I'm like, when did you get this? And I didn't get this information because we've been together this entire time. She was like, oh, Kim told me. Or one of the nurses had mentioned it while Susanna was in the room and I had stepped out. So I had no idea that this had even come up. And we were on our way back there. And I was like, oh, well, okay. And so then we went and we talked with my aunt and everything. And after, I want to say maybe like a couple weeks, that's when they had kind of given us the estimation of how long she really had, which was anywhere from like a year and a half to maybe 2 years left based on how far gone she already was. And so at the end of it, she had gone through several chemo treatments. We went through alternative treatments down in Mexico. Susanna went with her, and she went to different parts of the States looking for any kind of help, anything that would help as far as making her get better or making her life last just a little bit longer so she could make sure things were settled for us before she had to go. But she ended up passing 11 months later in April of 2017.
April 2017. So, yes, I remember mom, she talked to us a couple times with this, and, she had conversations about you with me. And then let's talk about what your decision was, because I think one of the most memorable things is when Kenny and I and Michael, because Michael was close to mom. My son enjoyed your mom immensely. Matter of fact, I think he still has her up as his profile picture a lot of times on Facebook. Because it's just your mom made an impact on my son. So
with
then
stuff like that, I mean, Michael used to come over to the house between classes and my mom would feed him dinner. and it
Right.
was the
So,
homemade meal stuff. But he was always like, "Yeah, like let me come over and I'll hang out with your mom for a little bit," and then we'd go back to the school together because it was so close. It took me 7 minutes to walk home, so
uh,
I was like, "Sure." Like she always loves company, so
so that's what Michael's doing, getting free food.
yes.
I'm gonna hit him up with that. I'm gonna tell him you had Ashley's mom making you food all the time. What the heck, right? And so I remember when mom was really sick, and we surprised her with an honorary black belt. And I remember she was so mad at us for being up there. Remember that? She was like, Ashley, why did you bring them
Yep.
here? Right? So
She didn't
it,
care that you were in the room. She was mad. And I was like, "Well, I can't say no to them either, you know."
yeah, this is something that we wanted to do for her, and we wanted to do for you, to have that memory that, martial arts was important to her, and that you stuck with it. And believe it or not, mom's memorial service, it really impacted Rose Gomez. I don't know if you know that or not, but there were several people that your I don't know, just the service alone was impactful to people, you know, because your mom was such a godly woman. For a fact that on her last breath, she woke up on the gates and, welcomed with open arms, and having a life that, you know, this, I thought about you. When I was with Kat last week, she was talking about a book that's out, and about, the five people in heaven. And then there's this other book that she wants to read. And we were just talking about what that looks like um, when somebody goes to heaven. And the question came up, if they can come back, why wouldn't they? And then the question came up, like, who would want to come back? See, that's the thing, right? And I was like, wow, that is pretty an impactful statement, because losing your mom, losing Cody, people that are close to me, and I'm like, they're probably right. They'd probably rather be up there waiting for us to come than to come back to this 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 godforsaken world that seems to be a sinking ship, and then it rises and goes up and down. So I thought about you when we were having that conversation about your mom, and how proud she'd be of you anyway. Looking forward to the difference you're making in the world. So, but this took a time. I did. I'm not sure a lot of people actually knew that you wanted to go in the Marine Corps. Is that correct?
Yes, I what originally I wanted to enlist, but my mom said that she would disown me, so I had to take the officer route. And so I was looking at ROTC schools for colleges, and that's all I applied to. And I applied to the Naval Academy to look at doing that route, which is a very vigorous application process. But one of the hardest things that you need to get is a congressional nomination from one of your congressmen. And so I got a nomination from Brad Sherman at the time to go to the Naval Academy. It's just the other areas of the application weren't what they were looking for. So I was going to look at doing the ROTC route, and I think I had settled on San Marcos at the time,
Mm.
Cal State San Marcos. And so I think it was, I had got my exception letter and I had gotten the denial from Naval Academy. So it was like I knew where I wanted to go because it was close enough that I could come visit my mom and then I could come visit the school because I still wanted to train as often as I could. And within, I think the next week, that was when we had found out about her diagnosis. And I was like, well, can we transfer to Cal State Northridge? And sure enough, we contacted CSUN and they were super understanding. And they were like, yes, you were accepted to a different Cal State. We will accept you here based on your family circumstances. Because I never even applied to CSUN because they don't have a ROTC program.
Mm. I didn't know that. And so you've made a decision at that point that you stopped that pursuing that because you knew that you're going to take on the role of taking care of your sister, correct?
Yes. And my mom said that I couldn't not go to college and wait for her to die. I had to go to college and in the hopes I was going to finish before or right after or whatever the timing was going to look like. So I was going to make her happy. And so I went to college at CSUN for my first 2 years. And I was working on getting my degree in teaching elementary school kids. And things just got a little too overwhelming at the time because my mom had died right in the middle of my first year at CSUN. And so then that second year was like me trying to figure it all out and everything else. And so I kind of just had to take a step back and take a break because it wasn't working and it wasn't going to get any better the way I was going.
It was stressful. I remember those times with you that doing school was, and then when you came and told me, that you've already made such grown-up decisions for yourself that sometimes I think that you take on more than most adults can take on. So the decisions you're going to make is what you're going to make, and you've decided to go kind of a different route, and then having a martial arts school is something that you are starting to kind of want, right?
Definitely went more than I did before college, probably. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot sooner, because when I was looking at doing the military, I was planning to be gone for about 8 years, and then I was going to come back.
Yeah, that's just, I'm not sure people knew that about your story. I wanted to make sure that people understand, because a lot of people ask, you have a great teaching ability, and then when it comes to kids with disabilities, that we're all kind of into that here anyway, and we kind of bounce off each other because some of the kids will relate to some better than others, and Michael's good with it, myself, yourself, and it's just something that we have a heart for, and you are able to articulate as an instructor. So this is why you're only 20. What are you, 22, 23? How old are you now?
23.
So you're 23, but you take on the responsibility of almost a 40-year-old adult, trying to take care of. You have a sister in college that you've allowed to, I think you told your sister, you go on and do your college. I'm going to stay back and take care of my sister. And this is the thing that I'm not sure people know either, that you would absolutely refuse to ever have your sister not with you. And as you grow into a young woman and you look for relationships in the future or being married, that she is part of the deal, and that's just the way it is.
Combo.
Correct?
Yep.
Yes. So, and there's a unique guy out there. Whether he gets past me is another thing. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But
should be interesting.
I just think that because I know that you were pressured, I believe, to have her more in a home, correct? And you just you didn't bend to that pressure, and you took on the responsibility and pretty much made that decision that you're going to do what you're going to do.
Yeah. And funny enough, the pressure at one point was really from my mom, because she was like, I don't want you stuck, I don't want you stuck with her for your life. You should consider putting her in a home. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm not really stuck. It's just she's kind of with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. We enjoy it when she comes down here because it's funny. I can be in my office and I'm like, you hear the screaming, and I'm like, oh, Ashley brought her sister today. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, it's been fun watching for her. And then, so let's talk about your martial arts journey now. So this is kind of your where you're at, and then you have a lot of stuff that you have dabbled into. You've taken things a lot like Mr. Carlin to a different level of your training, and gone into the Dog Brothers. I'm not sure people know that you have fought in these, what these things are called, the Gathering. And when I get to go out there and watch you and see your progression, you worked over that last chick that you fought. That's all I can tell you. And people don't know about this Gathering. It's at a North Hollywood park. There's knives and sticks and chains or whatever that you're going to fight each other with. There's staffs, and you do full-on fighting with them. You have a face mask on and maybe some hand protection, but people are getting lumped pretty good. And and your last fighting down there was something to see. Just how you dominated, and that just goes from all your training that you do. So you have the Dog Brothers that you do. You've been doing jujitsu for a long, long time, and John says that you're a badass. That's what he's saying right there. Look at that.
Thanks.
See, he's a good instructor.
Yeah, really good instructor.
So, so when you went that route, then you're doing your jujitsu and how you train for it, and now you've taken this competition to the next level, and you can see, right, you're on your weight loss journey, just like all of us are. You know what I mean? And you're down now because you're trying to get into a better competing weight for jujitsu. And then you took your sister down the same road, right? Getting her healthier, having her go right along with you to keep her in a healthy weight. So let's talk about your different martial arts. What drew you to the Dog Brothers to do that? What the jujitsu, getting your master's rank in Tong Soo Do. Now you're going on to Krav Maga. So let's talk about what made you do all that.
Well, I started everything with traditional martial arts, and at the end of the day, I bring it all back to that because it's where I feel everything kind of grew from. As younger students and lower ranking students, you always made us grapple, and grappling tournaments here was something I was always interested in. So as soon as I had heard about the adult jiu-jitsu classes here, I'd asked my mom. Because I was 11 at the time, I was in middle school. And so the deal was that I was going to go to the adult jiu-jitsu classes as long as I took my neighbor with me, Dave Gilmore at the time. And so we would go together, and Tuesday, Thursday nights, we would just go and we would train, and we'd walk home together because we lived 10 feet from each other, and it was a really good time. But I had to do the adult classes because I was teaching at the same time our junior class was. On Tuesday nights, our junior jiu-jitsu class, I never got to participate in because I enjoyed teaching just a little bit more. And then I figured out I could go to the adult jiu-jitsu classes. So I started that with Felipe Ruiz for a long, long time. And then the jiu-jitsu classes is kind of where I actually started to branch into Dog Brothers more, because Alex Bonarenko would stay afterwards and he would work on his Dog Brother stuff, and it always fascinated me. And he would pull me in and we'd start drilling, and then I got to meet Crafty, and I just was completely it was a different person. It was a very different instructor that I was exposed to. I've been around you, I've been around Mr. Carlin, I've been around even Grandmaster Chikawa, and Crafty was just a different animal altogether because it was very informal and formal in the same way. I'm like, do I call him Mr. Crafty? Do I call him Mr. Denny? Like, what do I call him? And he's like, you just call him Crafty. I'm like, okay. So, I would go down to Crafty's maybe once to twice a week, almost every week, every other week with Alex for about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And then I ended up going by myself because people just they moved away and they moved on with life. And I just still really enjoyed working with Crafty. And so I continued with that, and I continued working with him. So I wanted to say I started Dog Brothers maybe 2015, 2016. And that was kind of when I met Crafty. I went to a couple gatherings before I actually fought because I kind of needed to watch it and see what it was about and really psych myself up for it. And one of the first ones I went to was actually John Viverka's first gathering. And I remember talking to Crafty afterwards. He was like, so when are you going to fight? And I was like, next one. I'm here. I'll do it. He was like, okay, I'll see you at the next one. And sure enough, I prepared and I fought in that one in 2018. And then I was preparing for the one in 2019. And Crafty had invited me to the tribal, which you need an invitation. You cannot show up. It is not something that's open to everybody. And so Crafty had invited me to go fight at the tribal in 2019. And that was where I ascended to the term bitch, which is the first tier to becoming a full dog brother. But for women, you can either be a bitch, which is a female dog, or you can be a cat. And I wanted to be a bitch. So I'm currently just a bitch. And then
we're going to leave that go. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's okay. And then with the jiu-jitsu, we kind of started to really pick back up again. I never stopped training. That was the thing. I was always continuously training, but you brought Sergio around December of 2020. Is that right? Does that
Is
sound
it
right?
so? We're in the end of.
21.
Well, I don't know. We've had them for more than a year.
Yeah, because we had
So
them all of 2021.
it was in there. I want to say we almost had them for 2 years now.
Oh, you
We'd
know
have to
what? It
really
was
look back.
December of 2019. That
Hmm.
was, I think, the first time I met him. And I was here and I walked in the office and I saw you talking with him and I was like, oh, wow, this is the guy he's been talking about. And then I came back out and it was such a, he was like, you want to roll? I was like, I don't have any of my gear. I was not very prepared to roll. But I made it work and I threw on my karate pants and I had a t-shirt, tucked it in. I was fine and I rolled with them. That was my first time rolling with Sergio. And from there, he started teaching classes and I really have enjoyed coming to every single one of his classes. He's a very funny individual. Jiu-jitsu is a completely different animal as far as compared to traditional martial arts. There's a different respect. You know, he doesn't expect me to call him Mr. anything and it's still hard. It's still really hard for me not to address him in any formal way. I mean, I still use sir, obviously, as often as I can, but
Hmm.
it's different. And so Sergio gave me my purple belt with you earlier this year in April, I think.
Right. That's something we got together. Completely surprised us both.
Yes. Yeah.
Not prepared for it. Not feeling worthy of it. Yes. But that's something you and I get to share, right? That's something that happened on the same day.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't have to remember your anniversary because it's my
Right.
anniversary.
Well, that's good because I don't remember it. I look back at it and I'm like, wow, was that 8 months ago already? Holy man. You know what I mean? So I remember us getting that together, and that's the beauty of these things that Nathan Carlin kind of watched me go up the Tong Soo Do ranks along with Bo, Michael being watching all that, and there's this tight knit group that we have here that we get to train together, and that's something that you guys will have that for a long time now. That we this is why I talk a lot about a master's rank and what that really entails, or the ones that call themselves masters but never train and never pursue uh, greatness within themselves. It's not just to be great at this martial arts, but within yourself. I mean, to continue push, to continue show by example, which all you guys do. And I don't take any of that lightly. I get to train with you guys, and being a little older, it kind of sucks that I didn't have this when I was a younger man. I didn't have this certain tribe like I have today, and so it's been fun watching you guys grow, getting better. I don't know what's it like when you get to roll with like your main instructor. I mean, when we're together, or is it we're just so close you really don't think about that?
I want to demolish you every time.
Yeah, I know that. I every once in a while I would make a mistake. You know what I mean? And today it's like I tell everybody you cannot give her an inch, man. Okay, because I'll
I'll
freaking
take it.
snatch your arm. Like Ronda Rousey, you're the little Ronda Rousey of the school. You like in arm bars, the way it goes, and so it's always fun. So let's talk about that actually, because you're a female in the martial arts world. Tell me what's been hard as a female instructor, or do you feel you're proving yourself all the time? What's it like for you in that regards?
Well, uh to backtrack a little bit, I would say I started Krav in May of 2018, immediately after I got my master's rank, because I had decided I've made this milestone in my life. I want to start a new art. And Krav Maga just kind of seemed like one of those things I was missing as far as my self defense goes and my weapons technique go, because I had jujitsu on the ground and I had dog brothers with weapons and as an offensive. And I just felt like Krav was going to be a really good additive to that. So I started Krav. Krav is one of the only ones I feel like I continuously really have to prove myself, as far as females are just as threatening. You know, we can be just as deadly as we need to be when the time calls for it. Jiu-jitsu is one and the same slightly. Again, I started and I've usually hung out at 185. That was my walking weight. I felt pretty good. I didn't really think anything of it. I've never been a person super obsessed with the scale number. And then jiu-jitsu kind of made me have to think about it again, because I was getting put with these really big girls, and it wasn't really giving me a chance to compete with people I really wanted to play with. And so, looking at more recent tournaments right now, I want to get down to a lower weight, because I want to be able to destroy anybody in the room and they can't say it's because you're bigger than me. You know, I want to be able to destroy people based off pure technique alone. And that's where I think jiu-jitsu has been super helpful with me feeling that way, as far as being able to do that. Dog Brothers has been a super big part of that too, because for open gatherings, you're not allowed to fight men with sticks. It's frowned upon, and it is the way Crafty has always wanted it, and that's the way I've respected it. I will not fight a man at an open gathering with sticks. However, behind closed doors at the tribals, we are allowed to fight, and I will take every opportunity I can to fight men with sticks, because I understand that they may be physically stronger, faster, and whatever else, but nobody's going to push me like they will. You know, it's there's nothing wrong with training with other women, but you can't limit yourself to that. You know, I think that's where some schools don't do the best job, and they isolate these women, and they're like, oh, we have women's only classes, or this is a women's only seminar, and it's great and it's a really good experience, but it's okay. So now, are you prepared for the big guy? Are you really prepared for somebody bigger and stronger than you and more intimidating and creepy and whatever else you want to add on top of it for men to come after you? And at this point in time, I want to say I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that idea. But before training with Sergio and before even Krav, it would have been a little different, you know. Z was one of these ones that really opened my eyes to Dog Brothers. He doesn't really do Dog Brothers. I see him train with Mr. Carlin every now and then. They kind of work on a lot of Dog Brothers stuff together, which is cool. But he came to grapple one night, and we were grappling, and we were having a good time, and it was fun. And for whatever reason, he had a knife on him. There was a trainer, and he pulled it out, and he was in my guard, and he's like, "This is where I kill you." I'm like, "Okay." Oh, okay. You know, it's a very valid. He is way bigger than me, and I had zero way to maintain it, and I had zero way to really keep him off me while he had the knife. And he didn't hurt me or anything like that. It was just a eye opener. It was, you are being put in this position as a female. Can you really do anything? And from there, that's kind of where I was like, okay, like I need to expand more.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good advice as far as that goes. And I've said this before. I mean, when Krav first started, you know, Kathy was kind of the one of the go-to females, you know, because she was just so gnarly when it came to self-defense and pad work and everything that she did. So, and now you take on this role of being a role model for females inside, because people may not know, but last time I had you grapple everybody testing for a Krav Maga black belt, you tapped all of them multiple times in a 2-minute round, which is eye-opening both for those going for black belt, going, wow, I've got some it takes a lot for a person to look at themselves and go, I am deficient here, and I got to work on that. You know what I mean? It's easier just to kind of walk away from it or put the blame elsewhere. Oh, I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm too that, right? I mean, we've heard Sergio say the same thing. It's either you're going to get down on the mat and get busy or get to losing, one of the two. So, Vaverka, yeah, she tapped them maybe 16, 17 times. People don't really understand what happened that day, you know, and that was a statement, because I just feel that as black belts, you guys are deficient in this area. Not that you have to be super efficient in every area, especially with Krav Maga, but you've got to be able to at least take on a worthy opponent on the street. You know what I mean? I mean, really, what would happen, and that's including men that you tapped out, and it was eye opening. And from that black belt test, I can tell you this: hardly any of them that I know of still train in jujitsu after they got schooled.
Yes.
So, right? So you think about that for a minute. You're just like, wow.
There's one. And, I respect her every time she steps on the mat for stuff like that because she's trying. She's really trying. And
Uh,
it's cool to watch her take that humble step back. And she's like, this is where I was deficient. This is where I want to improve.
which female was that?
Bridget.
Oh, well, yes. Well, Bridget's, see, she's got a mindset kind of like you. You know what I mean? And she's a small woman too on top of it. So you're right about that. That was Bridget's test, correct?
Yeah.
And I speak highly of having strong women in the school on how important it is. Anybody that talks to me, I really feel a strong woman's presence. We talk a lot about the real reality, real talk about females on the mat. And I think I've told you this story before that I wouldn't take from some females when I was coming up the rank. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just didn't have. My ego was so inflated at that time. I'm like, I mean, I'd mop the floor with her. You know what I mean? I mean, literally. What are you exactly? Are you going to teach me? And then there's and that's just not all about martial arts. As you keep going, you know what I mean. There's just a lot more than fighting. And then I missed a lot of good classes with some great females that we have, and Tiffany Wing being one of them. And she used to tell, she used to do a class, but I'm like, I'd go drive where Mr. I was because my male ego wasn't going to allow that to happen. And then I missed out on a lot of this. And then as years go on and I see what strong females, when a strong female comes in, it's really important because there's a lot of broken females, believe it or not, that come into a martial arts school. They're intimidated, and if there's anything I've learned as a man, I don't know. See, you're a little bit different. You're more in our mold. You know what I mean? Being on 75 hard, you did 75 hard with us, correct?
Yes.
Which sucked, right? And then we got you on this page, so you're around all of us, and you have that same gene per se that I'm not going to make excuses, and I'm not going to stop, and this is what I'm going to do. But there's a lot of females that just don't have that, I've learned that from being a dad with some, even you, right? There's a tough side to you, and then what do you do? Then what do you pull on me? You start crying, all right? Yeah. That's messed up. No, see, that's not right. That is unfair fighting. Kathy does the same thing to me. It drives me crazy. And so I think that being that role model that you are in the school, because now you've got these young girls that are looking up to you, and they're just like, wow, man, Miss Ashley can be. I want to be like that. I want to be able to tap the boys. I want to be able to do this. And then you have that. You have the way to be able to talk to these young women and make them into young warriors. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't produce princesses. We produce warriors with princess looks. You know what I mean? So
different kind of feminism, definitely right here. And it is, I am equal, and I will show you that,
Yeah. Yeah. Which is good. I always feel that way. I think people miss the boat when you don't have a strong, females presence in there. And some females can take, hardcore instructing like myself or whatever, and some can't take it. You know what I mean? And so it's important that you have a female that's able to talk to them and say, hey, this is the reality of what's going to be like when you get attacked. You know what I mean? Because there was a time, it's funny. I mean, people don't know, but when I used to roll with you a little bit, I'd let you play around and do your thing and stuff like that. But now, see, I can't just allow that anymore because your skill level is getting to a point now that, but on the same token, I'm big and I'm strong, and I want you to have to be able to deal with that, because I know if you can deal with me, you're going to be able to deal with quite a few out there. You know what I mean? Yes. Right. And you've had some big and strong guys, right? But when they don't have technique, you've snatched them up, right? We're talking about hardcore Marines. We're talking about police. We're talking about some men that are hardcore that all of a sudden you're tapping them. And I mean, it is a slice of humble pie for sure. You know what I mean? And so even myself, I think last time we did you snatch me up last time? I did some mistake with my arm. Did you snatch my arm?
It might have been an armbar.
Yeah. And I said something like, "Nah, I ain't doing that again. You ain't getting that. You're if you're going to get one, you're going to work for it from now on." You know what I
Yes.
mean? And so, we had to change, and I'm sure John feels the same way as we go. Actually, you just become a. I'm looking forward to your competition on the weekend to see what's going to come about from that. So, Patrick said she caught me one or two. Should we get armbar patches for you, Ashley? So every time you get one, you have like a little notch on your belt.
I'd be okay with that. I think I need a longer belt.
Yeah. Bully tapped me twice with an armbar yesterday, sir. Oh, I wouldn't know. I wasn't at that jiu-jitsu
It's okay.
roll.
We'll do it tomorrow too.
Are we? That's right. Well, we got it. That's correct. We have a very early morning workout together. That's been awesome, you guys. You guys kind of showing up to the house and allowing me to work out with you guys and get our workouts in as you guys get prepared for this this tournament you guys got coming up. And so I just wanted to take that time actually to tell you what I'm glad you're able to get your story out there, because I don't really people think how much you behind the scenes, how much you do, to a point that you take on too much for yourself. You know what I mean? So, and then you stress yourself out.
Yes.
But I mean, what's it like? I mean, what's the school been for you? You know what I mean? Because, this is like a home away from home. As a matter of fact, I know that you have family members that even, why are you there so much? Why are you, what is it about the school that makes you grounded, I guess?
It's hard to describe, I guess. It's definitely teaching. Teaching will always put me in a much better mood, regardless of how I feel right before I'm about to teach a class. I mean, we all talk about it, sometimes you come in and you don't want to be there. And, I've had days like that. And I make the commitment to be here to teach. And if I have to leave immediately after, I leave. But most times I want to hang out and I want to spend time here with the people here, as much as a lot of the parents here can drive me crazy, I love a lot of the families here. They're very good people. They're very pure-hearted. And it's really cool to, again, we see people walk in and out the doors all the time. And it's a matter of, I don't care what kind of impact I can make on your life. I care how I can make your life better. I don't care if you remember me. I care if you remember what I teach.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that we talk a lot about the mat as a cleansing for the soul, for sure. I couldn't imagine not being able to get physical on the mat. That's why. And, can you imagine? Tell me that jiu-jitsu or even your dog brothers has not erased a lot of ego, correct? Because if you go in with an ego or with a mindset that I can't learn, or if you go in with a mindset, well, I got a master's rank, I don't want to put myself out there because I'm kind of the master. You get nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that life deals a lot of stuff to you, man, and it and you've been dealt with so you've been up against the ropes several times, that you have to overcome and do it, and then it looks like martial arts is what's brought you out of it every single time. That it's and right, the lessons we learn on the mat spill over to life like so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting watching even a black belt test I saw last week, right, in Georgia. So you watch somebody that's getting tattered and their ego gets engaged, and then all of a sudden they're headbutting people. You know what I mean? And then after that, you have to look for the compassion. You have to look at yourself and say, "Oh man, did I do something? Was that right or was that wrong?" And I think you do that a lot with your martial arts because you come and talk to me quite often about that. Hey, how do I become a better teacher? How do I become this? Um, and you hear a lot of stuff from me, and I'm a tough dude. I'm a tough instructor, and I say the truth. So tell me how you feel. How as a because sometimes, especially females, man, I come across really strong, and there's times that you've left my office crying, and that's not fair. Just so you know, you're not allowed to use tears in the office. Just so you know, that's unfair fighting.
Kathy said I could.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. Well, you learn from the best because she's done that every once in a while. So, what's it like? Actually, give me some advice. What you think when you got somebody that's tough like this, and that I want more uh, out of you.
I mean, I think I'm drawn to this place and to the arts I do because they humble me, because I know I can get very prideful very quickly. I naturally, I don't know what it is. I develop a very big ego very quickly. And I ask God every day to humble me so I don't have to be humbled. And sometimes he's able to help me with that, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and I need to be humbled. And it's embarrassing, and it is what it is, but it's also a very big learning point for me. And it's like, you can't present yourself this way, you can't think this way. And it's not the confidence I walk with. I think I try to I hold it like that. I hold it like confidence. I don't try and walk around with pride and a chip on my shoulder, because I look at these young girls, even some of these younger boys that, they like to help my classes now. And I'm like, hold your head up high, be proud of what you do. It's, you have to believe in what you do to the point where you don't even think about it anymore. And that's where, learning how to teach as a younger kid, I think really helped me develop naturally as an adult. And I think that's part of where I get my ego is I feel so comfortable in a lot of situations that it doesn't stress me out or freak me out. And then I get humbled. And jujitsu and Dog Brothers have been very good for that. I mean, even Krav sometimes, I think I do the technique correctly because this is the textbook answer for it. And it doesn't work because I'm relying on the technique and not the principles. And that's where I think
True.
it's
That's good.
frustrating, especially as a traditional martial artist. Is, well, this is the technique. This is what I was supposed to be doing. Why didn't it work? And sometimes it doesn't work out, and you just have to figure it out from there. But yeah,
I think that you've probably two of the biggest strong males in your life is probably Kenny and myself. I would imagine. Both pretty hard.
in different
On you,
ways, yes.
right? In a different, probably in a different way for sure. So, the lessons learned from that. Once you put that out there, because I hear this quite often, right? That I'm super intimidated to come and talk to, but once you do, it's like, wow, that really wasn't as bad as what I thought that was going to be, and I'm not sure why. I've always had that kind of that intimidating deal, and I don't really know what warrants it or what brings it on, but it just is what it is. So I think that you come from a perspective that you can help a lot of people, because sometimes people are like, how do you deal with Mr. Cox? Because I'm hard. I mean, I'm hard on you. I'm tough on you. You know what I mean? Just like I'm tough on Michael, and I know because I think about these things. I run this stuff in my head. If my leadership is good or is it poor? Am I getting my point across, or am I just raising my voice and being pissed off? You know what I mean? So why don't you give some advice on how you take the lessons or how you process the lessons? I think is even better, because it takes a minute. Sometimes you just walk out, you're like, all right, I'm out, and then you got to have to process that. How's that work? As
Um,
young as you are.
I want to say a big factor of it is, obviously learning why I'm being talked to a certain way or why I am being told certain things. And I take a lot of what I get from you as practice for me, as far as this is what it will be like to run your own school. Are you prepared for that? And it's, it's like I can take a step back and I hear Kenny in the back of my head sometimes. He's like, not a lot of women stick around very long. It's there's been a filter of women before me who have been like me as far as like running this Little Dragons program, and they kind of come in and they come out because it's hard. It's really hard to be in this male dominated environment where, it's like, well, he's talking down to me because I'm a woman. It's like, no, he's talking down to me because I messed up. Like that's where I have to separate is I don't feel like I'm ever being looked at and belittled because I'm a female. Now that's where I think other females can get it twisted where it's well, no, he's attacking me because I'm a woman and because I am this way. And it's no, he is trying to help. You are always trying to help. And I think that's where it's hard for people to understand that it's not an attack on my gender. It is more of, hey, like this wasn't what I wanted. This isn't how it should be, but this is what you need to do to fix it. And that's where I'm like, okay, like I'll fix it, And again, I take it as training for when I want my own school. Everything I do here is practice.
Right. Well, that's true, and it's a hard knock life. I can tell you that. You know what I mean? I don't hit it out of the park. I can tell you that for a fact. Okay, it's all the time, and I'm always grateful for you, Ashley, because it does put a check on me as a leader sometimes, and then I got to bounce it off like maybe Kathy or something like that. And I'm like, man, am I too hard on her or what? What's up, man? And I said because it's just how it's going to be. I mean, you're going to take it on the chin quite often, especially this. I don't care what anybody says. This is a very hard world to do what you're going to do. But then when you're somebody like yourself, Ashley, that you're out there and you're earning respect, you're not earning respect because you're Mark Cox's student. You're earning respect because you're Ashley Sage and your training. Okay. Being one of mine doesn't make it, that doesn't make you automatically just some badass. This is your thing. This is your work ethic. This is not a Mark Cox thing. This is an Ashley thing. And I'm super proud to watch you continually excel, right? Both as a teacher and as a practitioner. And you're only 23. You're so ahead of the curve that it's not even funny. Believe it or not, I started when I was about 20 or 21. You've been getting to have all this and all this life experience, and then you get to capitalize on all the mistakes that I ever made and continue to make. Because we've had these talks, right? Hey, you see the way I handled that? Don't do that. Okay. That's not going to work out real well. And so it's been awesome that they say men forge iron, iron sharpens iron. You've heard that all the time. But a strong female helps put us in check, helps us become better men, helps us become better leaders. And so with that, I want to make sure that you understand. I wanted to put you out here and let people know just what your story is, just how important you are, and why you are the instructor that you are. Because I know that you hear a lot of it. How do you take Mr. Cox's? I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm not. I know that I'm a strong individual, and I jump on you hard sometimes, and you take it on the chin, almost to the point now it's not as fun anymore. All right, because you learn how to deal with me a little bit more, right? So I'm like, that's not even fun. I can't even do that. I'm gonna have to go a different route, or she's gonna start crying or something, and then it's gonna be messed up. And so that's I guess, hey, if you're fighting fair, you're not really fighting. Is right, right? Correct. Is that correct?
That is the Chatsworth way.
Yeah, that's correct. And so I just wanted to get people out here to know that I've had a lot of strong females come through my school, a lot, man, and all of them have unique qualities. I'm blessed to have every female that really was a leader, but I do appreciate the loyalty to the school, the loyalty to your students, and the loyalty to all your arts. It's not just Tong Soo Do. It's like, we've dived into this jiu-jitsu thing together, something that you get to have with me forever. Michael, watching you and Michael kind of, grow up together now in this martial arts. And guess what? You guys are going to have such better students even than what we've produced here because of what the knowledge that you guys have at such a young age. I mean, right? Haven't you seen the progression of how, wow, remember there was a time it was just Tong Soo Do. It's just what we do. And I remember doing techniques going, this is the lamest stuff ever that we're doing. Okay. Like knife one steps where you step with a knife with a what. And when you do it, you know that this is just so stupid. Right. But we had nothing. Instead, we started exploring more and everything else. And then bring all that back to Tong Soo Do. I mean, our Tong Soo Do was off the chart. We have such this awesome, school, and you're a huge part of that because we get to train every week together, and I don't take that stuff lightly, especially when we lost mom. You know, people can come and go at the blink of an eye. That all of a sudden they were there, and all of a sudden they're not. And I just thankful that I got to have you. You're here, and that you're still here. And so our next endeavor together is I've spoke to you about. Okay, it's time to launch our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kids classes, both in Simi and in Chatsworth. And having you kind of head that up is a way of probably having your own school within the school, right? Now you really get to see what that's going to look like to build your own thing. And I'll be back there, pushing you along and seeing how it goes. I mean, you're looking forward to that, right?
Yes, it should be exciting come 2022.
Yes, it's right. So you're in charge of our little rollers program, right? So, Carson put a little rollers program together, and then we decided that, hey, let's start grappling them at 3 years old. So tell me, how much have you loved that experience?
I have really enjoyed it. Again, I mean, teaching in general, I've been asked by a couple of these junior instructors, which one do you like more? Do you like teaching little dragons or little rollers? And I'm like, it's a different love for both of them because the kids that I think have some of the hardest time in both surprise me. I had my little boy, Isaiah, and I was working with him, and I was going over a double leg takedown, and I was telling him how to do the double leg. And in the middle of it, he's like, I'm going to do a back break fall. And I was like, yes, you are. Yes, absolutely. And I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, you're 3. How did you remember that? And they amaze me every time I step on the mat. And I mean, these kids, they are like what Chatsworth breeds. They are hard. They smash their face into the ground. They cry about it and they get over it and they're back on the mat. And then they get better and they don't do any tears. They smash their face in the ground and they get right back to it. I don't know what I did. It was either you or John or Sergio on Wednesday. I have a bruise in the middle of my forehead because I think I literally smashed my head on somebody's head. And I was like, yeah, that hurts, but it's definitely, I love the little rollers class right now because I'm also seeing that the junior instructors are having a different time with these kids, and it's almost more enjoyable because jiu-jitsu is a little bit more free.
It's been great watching you develop that thing. That's an Ashley Sage thing. Watching you go on there, I get out there with you a little bit and say, okay, let's get them moving here a little bit more. And you take coaching really well, and then you're off to the races, man. You've done an awesome job with these little guys. Can you imagine what those guys are going to be at 16 and 17?
Yes.
I mean, will they not far surpass any of our black belts here now? Not because they weren't good. It's just our knowledge is so much more because we continue training, and you've taken it all to a next level yourself. And being a competitor, you're just going to have these naturally competitive kids because that's what you are. You know what I mean? I'm so stoked to see what happens, right? And what's going to happen with this as we expand this into a different thing. I mean, I couldn't have a better people behind me, man. With Mr. Carlin and Kathy and yourself and Michael and Dickie and even Brooks now. Brooks is coming into his own on these kids programs, and you've taken these youth that are kind of getting burned out, which is so natural, and then you bring them in to become these instructors where they have a new flourish and a new love for the martial arts. I know it's hard, right? Because it takes away from our main, but we're like, how can it be? But that's what keeps them engaged, and that could keep them coming. And you're a big part of that. So I really appreciate everything that you bring to the table. Looking forward to what's gonna happen, right? Because we're gonna get I think John's still online, right? So don't tell anybody, but we're gonna smoke him when it comes to building a kids program. You know what I mean? So
I will do my best.
That's you know what I'm saying? Because we're nothing, it's not like we're competitive or anything, but we are going to smoke them. and then you get to have the bragging rights on it.
Yes.
I'll be behind pushing you to the front.
There you go.
Right. So
I'm okay with that.
That's good. All right. Well, we went almost about an hour and 10 minutes, so it was good, man. I'm glad we got to do this for everybody. I hope everybody gets a little bit more knowing you. I did this last minute. By the way, this is the kind of character you have. Okay. Do you remember? I put out I have 2,000 or 2,700. I don't know. Friends, right? That are friends that are friends and friends that aren't friends or whatever. However, Facebook works. And I put out, I need a ride to the airport. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I had zero response.
Yes.
From anybody.
Yeah.
Except you. And then you direct message, I'll just take you to the airport. What time we need to go?
Yeah.
And then I felt so bad because it's so early in the morning. I'm like, nah. And then you're like, right. And you just took us here and picked us up here the last time, right? This is the kind of character you really know people's character if they're going to give you a ride to the airport.
Yes.
That's all I can tell you, right? Because there's some things that people can't stand to do to help others, right? It's moving and taking you to the airport or picking you up from the airport. Those two things are like taboo. And the ones that jump in to do it, you just so everybody knows, she's done it. She's done it for Michael. She's done it for me. She'll get up at the crack of dawn. She met me at 4:00 in the morning, me and Kathy, to take us to LAX here a week ago. So just wanted to let everybody know what kind of character you really have. Now, I am still trying to get you to stop drinking your energy drinks, though. So that's the only thing. That's the only vice I'm trying to.
Only vice. You have no other vices. I feel like we're doing really good.
That's good, right? You're doing awesome on your. I mean, how much weight have you lost now? You can even see it in your face here, sitting here. I mean, you're down to what now?
155. I've lost 30 pounds.
30 pounds so far. Try right, and how hard. Listen, this is the last thing we'll talk about, right? But even a woman's being competitive in jiu-jitsu, how hard has it been to find other women at your rank and weight to be able to even compete against?
I mean, for the last tournament, I had nobody in my bracket, and they told me the day before that it looked like I wasn't going to have anybody to compete with. And then for this one, I had one girl sign up the day before they closed signups. So I will at least get 2 matches. I'm super excited for that. But I look at all of the brackets for women, and the biggest bracket right now for this kind of specific tournament league is the 130. So I want to get down to 130 and then be able to destroy all of them and then still tell the tournament circuit, hey, I'll go with these bigger girls, because I know it's hard. As somebody who was a bigger girl, to be able to compete with people, because nobody wants to compete with you because you're so big. And it's like, well, no, like my jiu-jitsu is comfortable enough. It shouldn't matter how big you are. I'm okay with that,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You're a competitor, man. You're a warrior, Ashley. I love you to death like you're my own kid. So, there's that. Well, you get asked, well, you've been told that you're my daughter how many times, right? Wherever you go. Oh, you're Mr. Cox's daughter.
Yes.
You're at the point now, but yeah.
Michael's sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael's sister, it is. You look at the family anyway. So we'll just go from that. All right. I appreciate everything, man. I love you, kid. And, we'll be training together here, even though you're right next door in the office. Believe it or not, she's right next door in the office doing this podcast with us. All right.
Yes.
All right. We got to get it. I love you, kid.
Guys.
I'll talk to you.